This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Time being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, we have the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Superior Treaty and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis people. Administration advises that there are no new additions to the agenda. Do any members of council make to wish any amendments? Okay, seeing none. Can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Muir, Councillor Park. Okay, all in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Okay, seeing none. There are no deputations tonight. Okay, minutes of the open session meeting, February 7th, are at items 5.1 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Okay, seeing none. Is there a mover and seconder for motion to approve the minutes at items 5.1? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Gord? Gord's frozen. Okay, well, the motion is carried. We'll just abstain. Write that down for Gord or, oh. Okay, motion's carried.
Sorry, it froze. I was sorry, my computer froze.
Okay.
Just got back there. I thought it's been happening a lot. I apologize.
Okay, 5.2 are closed session minutes of February 7th or at items 5.2 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the minutes at items 5.2? Councillor McDonald. Councillor Tedesco. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, minutes of the special meeting, February 15th, are at items 5.3 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Okay, seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the minutes at items 5.3? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Gord? Okay. Motion is carried.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on my end here.
It's okay. Okay, correspondence. Okay, DSAP. Item 6.1 is for information purposes only. Do any members of council have any questions? No? Okay, seeing none. Item 6.2 is Superior Country. This is information purposes only relating to Lake Superior Waterfront Trail. Do any members of council have any questions? No, seeing none. Okay, the Ontario Volunteer Service Award. Item 6.3 is information purposes only relating to the rescheduling of the award ceremony. Do any members of council have any questions?
Do you have any idea as to what happened to reschedule? It was a technical matter?
That was the email that they did send out to us, but other than that, we don't know. Okay, so it's rescheduled for the 28th of this month. Okay, committees, boards, and agencies. 7.1 are minutes from the Red Rock Public Library Board meeting, January 11th, 22. Do members of council have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the minutes? Councillor Park and Councillor Tedesco. Okay, all in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, items. We have 8.1, report from Director of Operations. Do any members of council have questions for Mr. Westerman? Councillor Muir?
Hey, good job on the safety meeting, Blair. I like seeing that stuff. Good work on that.
Obviously, the last couple of weeks we're going to be busy, or you've been busy with the snow removal. So that's going obviously almost nonstop. So I believe you guys are doing a great job. I haven't heard many complaints.
Yeah.
You're doing the best you can. I mean, you guys are working every weekend really because of the snowfall. So great job there and getting everybody out early.
All right.
Councillor?
Blair, what's the status with the backhoe? Is it anything happening as far as replacement?
Well, as I said in my report, both Mark and I have been in contact with reps from Toromont and Brant. So they've been sending us some options. You know, we're looking at just about everything. So far, our tractor's hanging in there, but it is hard on it, pushing all this snow in third gear. And that's basically what we're left with. We have first gear as well, but it's geared so low that when you run into a bank, you're just spinning the wheels. So third gear gets used a lot, and that's not really ideal. Second gear would be what we would normally use. So we're just trying to obviously be cautious with it, but I don't know what we're going to do for snow removal just yet. I'm going to look into some options tomorrow, because that'll be the next big chore.
Are you being offered any upgrades as far as, because you got a 310 right now, are you getting something a little bit better? I mentioned before about the possibility of getting a bucket with a thumb. Any options like that available?
That option is not commonly available with used equipment, and that's basically what we've been looking at. An option like that is easier come by when you buy a new machine. It's more expensive actually to retrofit hydraulics on an old machine for a thumb like that, or any option, hydraulic option, but I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky. It would be a handy tool for the machine. We've basically been looking at the same machine though, like a 310 or a 410, I guess, but something similar to what we have.
Are you having any chances of looking at a lease component?
Leasing?
Yes.
We've looked at leasing, we've looked at renting, and then some used options. I mean, obviously a new one would be ideal, but very expensive.
And just to add to that, Councillor Tedesco, we're looking at a big picture. Obviously, we have a lot going on. Rolling stock or loaders like that would be, you wouldn't find funding for a source like that. So we are trying to tie in a big picture. We're very optimistic that we can nurse this one along for a bit, because I mean, we're not gonna, it's tough big picture wise to look at these without looking at that big picture. So we're definitely examining all options, but it is part of a bigger picture as well.
That's why I had suggested the possibility of leasing, because let's face it, eventually we got to bite the bullet, and it doesn't mean we have to necessarily buy the machine, but if we lease it, many people lease vehicles, as you know, in the car industry yourself, it suits their needs. That might be a good end run where you can get a really newer machine and something, say, with a thumb that would make Trevor extremely happy.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it is a little bit of a different situation. Leasing, what we found and what we're finding is you're really not seeing the substantial savings leasing that you would see purchasing. Some of the reasoning behind that being the deals that you can get as a municipality in a purchase. Again, we're not looking at a small expenditure. I don't disagree with you. We do have to ultimately make a decision on this, but it's certainly a challenge to juggle some of the financial decisions that we have to make and that we're going to have to make. So again, we're working on it. There's very limited options out there as well. If we are looking at the used market, the options are very, very limited as to what you can get. You just can't find them in today's world. You just can't find them.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments on Mr. Westerman's report? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the report? Councillor Tedesco, Councillor Muir, all in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, next 8.2 is a report from Community Development Officer, Ms. Davis. Do members of council have any questions? It's a very thorough report. Thank you very much. Ashley, maybe you can explain a little bit of what we're going to be possibly approving tonight.
Yes, so there's a couple things that we'll need resolutions for tonight as part of my report. One of them is for the awarding of the contract, the general contractor for our water infrastructure project. So there is attached a recommendation from JML Engineering to award McKinga the contract for the as the general contractor for sewer and water main upgrades. So this is the Brompton Road section. So I believe you have a resolution for that, as well as a copy of that recommendation from JML. McKinga was the lowest bidder. JML has worked with them in the past and are very comfortable working with them and the work that they have completed. So that is one resolution. If there's any questions regarding that recommendation, I'd be free to answer those and that whole process.
I don't have any.
Can we go back just for a moment? You talked about item D, and you're talking about the new ice resurfacer. What's the game plan for the resurfacer we have down there now? Is if we do get a new one, what would happen with it?
I believe that would be our asset disposal procedures that we would have to follow.
Be nice if we could trade it in for a backhoe.
We will get the backhoe.
We need that Swiss Army knife.
Okay, how about a little update on the community grant that we're also looking at?
Sure. So the other resolution this evening is an application for the Inclusive Community Grant. And that one is aligned, it's an initiative across Canada and worldwide, but Ontario itself has the Advancing Accessibility in Ontario framework. So it also helped the community align with the accessibility requirements moving forward. It's the World Health Organization's age-friendly community plan. So it looks at how communities can be age-friendly. So it's essentially buildings that are accessible, community spaces that are accessible, encouraging members of the older adult population, so 55 plus, to become socially engaged, civic engagement. It's really looking at how our community can encourage aging in place through social services as well. So it helps to not put as much pressure on the system by being able to provide as many services as a community can in place. So there's 8 domains that are looked at, but essentially what this funding does is it pays for a strategy 100% funded up to $45,000 for the community to look at how age-friendly is the community. So are the sidewalks accessible? Are they in good condition? Is there enough lighting? Is any signage that you have suitable for older adults? Are there enough social services available for seniors programming? Is there transportation? So it looks at the community as a whole. One thing that would, and then it actually, part of this program would be to develop an implementation plan. So it looks at where our successes are, where our shortfalls are, and how we can become a stronger community when it comes to our senior population. With our community profile that McSweeney just completed, Red Rock actually has 32% of its population over the age of 55. And that is pretty high. And especially with looking at potential development, this plan would make sure that any future development also fits in with any policies and procedures to make sure that we align with both the province's accessibility standards, but also the World Health Organization's domain. So making sure that any new infrastructure also accommodates people with different abilities and seniors. There has been a high interest in Red Rock as a seniors population, like a seniors town retirement, especially with the new development as well. So making sure that we can keep the people we have here longer and encourage new residents to come in to help support the economy, that will definitely help us. And this assessment and action plan is that essential document that we need to get any of these infrastructure upgrades. So this one key piece that would come out of this for Red Rock is looking at our sidewalks and our lighting. So there's a lot of sidewalks in town that need some upgrades or enhancing sidewalks, making sure that the inclines down to street level are safe. So that's one of those key pieces that could come out of this, is one supporting document that would say, yes, we need some of our sidewalks revamped, or we need more sidewalks, or anything along those lines. So that's essentially, the resolution tonight would essentially be to support submitting this application.
Ashley, what sort of components in this program or funding project deal with the preventive health issues for seniors, particularly for the diabetic type people, people with say foot problems, people that have dietary issues, ambulatory issues. Does this program deal with that sort of thing for the elderly, and also
Yes,
that are not elderly?
yeah, so it would look at all of the services that are available that can contribute towards a better life for seniors and people of all abilities. So it's not only an age-friendly community, it's an inclusive community. So it looks at minority groups, people with disabilities, the LGBTQ plus community. So it looks at how the community itself is inclusive. So it looks at what services and businesses there are available and where the community may be lacking. And then part of that implementation plan may say, okay, you may be short in the number of foot care providers. Here's what you can do to try and attract more.
And can that be rolled into looking for, say, dental services or say physical, like physician type services, bringing in a doctor to the community, dentist, physiotherapist, or those kind of things.
So it does an assessment of the community on all levels, and then it would say, okay, here's where you're lacking, here's what you need to do. And then this would essentially be that document that tells us, yes, we need this person here, we need this service here. And that allows us to say, yes, here this is, we can go do this now. We have an actual document that says we need this person. So then we can either use funding to bring that person in, or we can use this as a reference document to work with employment organizations, the local employment planning council, international teams for bringing in people with a certain skill set. It's that kind of document that says we're lacking this skill set. How can we get this people here? So it looks at all of those services.
Are there any other questions? Gord, I thought I seen a hand up earlier.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's good answered as she went on. So thanks very much.
Okay, any other questions on Ashley's report? Councillor McDonald?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, I think that's a great idea. It's 100% funded for up to 45,000. So why not go for it? And then we'll actually have a document that could support other applications if we need, like more funding to bring in, maybe to build a health center or whatever. Like this document will support all that future funding that we need to go for. So yeah, I think it's great.
Okay. Where am I at here? Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the report? Councillor Park, oops. My pen's not working. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion approving Makinga Contractors be awarded the contract as the general contractor for the sewer and water main upgrades for Brompton Road? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve, to support the application and project plan for the Inclusive Community Grant, which includes community consultation and a presentation to council to be completed by March 31st, 2023. Councillor McDonald. Councillor Park. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Thanks a lot, Ashley. Okay, next item 8.3, report on administrative activity. Do members of council have questions of Mr. Figolini? Councillor Mayor?
Mark, can you talk a little on the firefighter certification?
Yeah, certainly. This is one we met with the Fire Marshal of Ontario last week. There's some changes that are being proposed for the firefighter training and the accreditation that goes along with that, which really could have dramatic effects, especially on small towns like Red Rock and our volunteer fire department. I do have a follow-up meeting tomorrow where hopefully we will get some more information, but it's relatively what we would, I guess, call scary, moving into some of the changes that the province is proposing and downloading onto the municipalities based around training, on a couple of reasons, cost being one, as well as the availability of firefighters and volunteer firefighters, especially to maintain that training, and the required components of it. So it's an initial, I hope, discussion right now, but it's one that we're monitoring. And again, as I said, we will be meeting with other regional municipalities on it as early as tomorrow.
Hey,
Mark,
did
could
they
you
give you-
expand a bit on the meetings with legal discussion?
I can't expand on that legal discussion, particularly in an open session, based on the content of some of those discussions. It wouldn't be appropriate to discuss that in an open session.
I'm aware of that. I'm just thinking you did mark it down as an item, and I thought generally you might be able to address that. I think at one point we had talked about shrinking of the number of legal services.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of those, I mean, in generally, a lot of those discussions are based around potential litigation, some land transactions that we're working on. I'm not sure if you're asking what firm or what company we're using, but I can say I'm very comfortable with the discussions that we are having with our current legal situation.
Yeah, I was just asking for a general address to that issue.
Okay. Did I answer the question?
I think so for now.
Councillor Muir.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, I just want to take you back to that question. Did you hear, did they have any justification with regard to that certification? I mean, I was watching the TV News Watch there, and I guess there is a couple fire departments that are just, Karamat was one of them. I guess they had the one firefighter that had to resign. So did anybody give any justification why they're throwing this at everybody?
You know what, Gordon, not really. I mean, it was basically a Q&A for the fire chiefs, mayors, and CAOs to sit in last week. If you go back a few years, these same type of discussions happened in 2018. Was I think basically the initial parts of these discussions. You probably have seen where some other municipalities, small municipalities in Northwestern Ontario, have become vocal in the last couple of days. And as I said, it is concerning. I think we'll be able to bring a lot more information after I have some discussions tomorrow. I spoke with our fire chief again today on it. He's definitely concerned. He's addressed our current complement of firefighters, and we definitely have concerns based on the numbers we may lose due to some of these training requirements. So I think, Gord, we will have it's something that's gonna, if it continues to come on like it is, it will come quick, and we'll keep council updated on that. Again, hopefully I'll have a lot more answers from some of the other regional small communities tomorrow as we gather.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, keep us updated on this for sure.
For sure.
Are
Mark,
there any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to point out that
Councillor
there was some talk about the possibility of extending the ice. I think that's a really good idea, because I think that falls within the March break, doesn't it?
Yeah, I did have two items I was looking for general direction. One was exactly that, extending it, and that was the thinking. It was kind of maybe, I guess, a threefold way of thinking. We did get a late start this year due to some of the installation and painting requirements. And then we did have about a 3-week lapse in the middle due to COVID, where we basically shut our arena down, our facility, the complete facility, including the ice surface. Unfortunately, we did have to lay that staff off during that time, but it all builds to exactly our point as to requesting an additional 2.5-3 weeks based on our initial assumption of the end of February. And that's what it basically is, to go through the March break and see if we can extend the season that way. We did monitor the ice surface extensively through the shutdown with the last shutdown with COVID. And as we thought, sure, with the frigid temperatures we've had, the facility does and Blair can probably speak to that a little more intense, but in depth, but the facility doesn't operate, and the ice plant doesn't operate as much as you would actually think when it's that cold out. That's for sure.
Well, we've all been in that arena, and we know the colder it is, the the harder the ice, and you don't need to run the plant that much. So, are we in consensus that we want to keep it running until mid-March?
Yeah.
Is that direction we're going to give?
Yeah.
And we'll have a full, after this season, and we can put some numbers together. Samantha and I met briefly on it this morning, and it's hard to put a full number on anything yet because you don't have all of your invoicing done in that, but we can have a full report to council based on this season shortly after we're done in March, for sure. But that's good. I'll move through with that. The other one was, we had talked about the closed and open session timing, and I had committed to bringing it back to council as to whether we wanted to keep it at the beginning if we had closed, as opposed to the end. It would just be something that we would, as we're working on procedural bylaws and those kind of changes right now. So it's just something we're looking for direction for, so we can update that procedural bylaw as we move along.
Councillor Muir?
I'm kind of digging the 6:30 closed session and then start at 7 if we have anything else after. I like it personally, so I'm in favor of keeping it if possible.
Okay.
I think Sarah is as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree. I think that it's working for us, and I think we should continue.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Councillor Tedesco?
I think there's some pros and cons. Obviously, if you do it at 6:30, you can get it over and done with right away. But the thing is that if you do need to go into extended conversations, I guess you can always tack it on to the end, because that's always an option. So yeah, I guess I'd go with 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll continue on with the 6:30 closed session if we need it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to approve the report? Councillor Park, Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, item 8.4 is a report on an automatic annual wage increase for non-union staff. Do members of council have any questions? Councillor Muir?
See, council's in there. I understand the logic behind it, but I don't like the fact that council's going to get an automatic wage increase. I mean, if some members of council are planning on running again, I'd personally rather just see the library, landfill, and fire chief and deputy chief being on this and council being separate, brought back every year. That's my personal thought on it. It's not going to prevent me from voting on it if that's the way everyone wants to go tonight.
Councillor Tedesco?
As you probably are aware, I'm also opposed to the council being given additional increases. I noticed that there has been an automatic increase included in the last entry, so maybe somebody jumped ahead of the gun there.
No, we did discuss that at last meeting and it was voted on and it was passed, it was carried. So this is for starting with the next council.
I support the motion, so it's not us that we're giving it to, it's for the next term of council, right? So I support it.
I can only speak on behalf of being in the mayor position, and it is a very busy job. It's not a lot of money that you get, so the additional $100 for the year overall, I don't think it's unwarranted for the amount of work that you do. And as a counselor, you can be as busy as you want to be. And I do think that, when you're held accountable, as in getting a wage, you're going to make better decisions. So that's my belief on it. So any other questions or comments? And then I'll bring it to a vote.
I support it too. That's all.
Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve an automatic annual wage increase for all non-union employees based on the unionized contract commencing in the 2023 calendar year? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? 4 hands rising. Against?
I'm opposed for the council position. I'm in favor of the other positions receiving the increase.
Okay, motion is carried. Okay, there's no bylaws. There's no new business. Unfinished business. As you all know, administration, I don't know if Mark, you'd like to speak to any of this, but it is all ongoing.
Yeah, I can answer any questions. We are ongoing on all matters. Again, we could take direction on the town hall meeting if that's something that council, as we move through COVID now, if that's something that we want to plan, we can certainly do that. I have spoke with GFL on some initial discussions on recycling for the community. I do have some preliminary numbers. I did want to speak and reach out to Councillor McDonald as well. I have her initial numbers from the environmental committee, so I did want to sit with her and schedule something. I'll reach out to Melissa on that. But so we have started looking at that. GFL is kind of the person who handles that solely in our area. They have provided a couple of different options to me. And again, one being basically a situation similar to what the Township of Nipigon does as in that well. There's also some other decisions that and information I'm waiting on further, where the province of Ontario in 2020, the year 2024, is implementing what is called a blue box program for recycling. So there will be some changes to the complete recycling program. So we're working on that. Business recognition program, those letters have gone out to the businesses. We've asked the businesses to contact us with profiles and or information they want to provide. So those letters have gone out, and we continue to work through the recreation plan, and we will involve council as we wind this season down and then hopefully move into the next season. So that will be something we'll get together with in the near future as well. So I'm not sure if there was any questions on that, but it's definitely all being looked at for sure.
Okay, seeing none. Next is a bylaw to confirm proceedings of council. Can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Before I close the meeting, I would just like to send our condolences to Greenstone, a municipal councillor, Councillor Marino passed away. I guess he was a long time fire chief and also councillor for the past 4 years. So our condolences to the family and also the Greenstone cluster. And time being 7:40, I call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Hi, guys.
Good night, everyone.